Would you knowingly drive down a one-way street? You've got to pay attention to the trend arrows. Hello Nation. Today we're going to talk about the importance of trend arrows. What are trend arrows? Trend arrows are the little arrows next to our blood sugar when we look at our continuous glucose monitoring device to tell us how fast and what direction our blood sugars are going. I use the Dexcom, others use the Medtronic sensor. I think the best way to explain that is by looking at this picture. There's two blood sugars. They're both about 67. In this scenario, based on continuous glucose monitoring data, the blood sugars are dropping quite rapidly. And that could be a very dangerous situation. Become hypoglycemic while you're driving a car, working around heavy machinery, or taking care of your kid. The other scenario is not quite as dangerous. Your blood sugar is going up tremendously, and if you don't realize it, you're going to be well above 200 milligrams per deciliter for hours and hours and hours. Now, I know lots of patients, I know physicians who look at downloads, and they don't look at the trend arrows. If you don't look at the trend arrows, throw your CGM away because it's not helping you. Now, us folks with type 1 diabetes calculate our insulin dose based on two basic parameters: how much food we're eating, and in that case we use the insulin to carbohydrate ratio, 1 unit of fast-acting insulin, for example, for every 15 grams of carbohydrate. Some people are 7, some people are 20. Everybody's different. The other area is to treat blood sugars that are above your desirable level. We call that the correction factor or the insulin sensitivity factor. So for me, 1 unit of fast-acting insulin should bring down my blood sugar about 35 to 40 points or milligrams per deciliter. So we use those basic calculations. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we just calculate and guess them. So you have to look at the trend arrows, and I'm going to explain that right now. Let's take a look at this slide that I use when I speak to doctors about continuous glucose monitoring. These are the trend arrows I'm talking about. And you see the title of the slide, How Continuous Glucose Monitoring and Trending Information Can Affect Our Decisions on the Correction Factor and the Insulin to Carbohydrate Ratio. Let's take this first arrow. It's straight across, it's horizontal. You don't have to do anything special to your calculation because that means the rate of change is not changing dramatically in any direction. So whatever your calculation is for your carbs or for your correction, that's what it is. Now let's just say you have a trend arrow and your blood sugars are going up. You've got to give yourself more than that calculation. Otherwise, you're going to be underdosing yourself. And I've seen people have trend arrows going up quite dramatically. You can see 1 arrow up, 2 arrow up, means you're changing more than 3 milligrams per deciliter per minute, and they just stick to their original calculation. If you ignore the direction of your blood sugars, you're not taking advantage of the benefits of CGM. Then on the way down, it's the same thing. If your blood sugars are dropping, if you're diagonal, which means you're changing about 1 to 2 milligrams per deciliter a minute, all the way down to 2 arrows down, that means you're dropping fast. And you're about to give yourself some insulin because you're high, you better reduce it or hold off and wait an hour or half an hour until you see what happens to the trend of your blood sugars. Otherwise, you're going to be overdosing yourself. And that's what happened in years past when we did not have the continuous glucose monitor. We just had one blood sugar at one point in time. Now, there's other variables that can affect the blood sugar drop. What level is your blood sugar? Certainly, a blood sugar of 200 is quite different than a blood sugar of 350. And so that may affect your decision. What kind of meal you had? How big was that meal? What was the composition of that meal? Was it 4 pieces of pizza that's still sitting in your stomach? Or was it a light salad? Exercise duration and intensity. As we all know, there's lots of variables that can affect our diabetes. Let's take a look at my trend arrow. Let's turn on my little Dexcom here. And as you can see, it's 185 blood sugar and the trend arrow is going straight across. This is the last 3 hours. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself 1.5 units now to drop my blood sugar about 60 points, and I'll be about 120 before lunch. So long, nation.